Hi there, this video is about indices. So when we're talking about indices, what we mean is a to the power of 3. Now a is the number and it's called the base. The 3 is called a power. We can also say that is a cubed. Now another word for power is index, and plural for index is indices. So that's where that comes from. So for example, if you're saying a squared, okay, that just means that we're multiplying a by itself 2 times. A cubed means we're multiplying by a by itself 3 times. A to the power of 4 means we're multiplying a by itself 4 times, and so on. Okay, so the first rule of indices, so rule number 1. When we're multiplying indices, so if we've got a squared times a cubed, what we do is we actually add the powers. So it becomes a 2 plus 3, and that gives us a to the power of 5. Okay, so rule number 1 is when multiplying, we add the powers. So let's look at some examples. P times p to the power of 6. Now, p doesn't appear to have a power, but we know if there's p on its own, it means that there's a 1 there. So watch out for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the powers. 1 plus 6 is 7, so that gives us p to the power of 7. b to the power of 10 times b to the power of 30. So we're going to add those powers. 10 add 30, and that gives us 40. Y to the power of 19 times y. Again, y is sitting on its own. That means it is to the power of 1. So we're just going to add the powers, and that gives us y to the power of 20. 2a cubed times 5a to the power of 5. So we multiply the numbers. 2 times 5 is 10. And then we add the powers. 3 add 5 is 8, so it's 10a to the power of 8. Let's try another example. I'll just fit it in here. 7x times 9x to the power of 8. Okay, so the x is on its own again, so always put the 1 in just to help you out a little bit. 7 times 9, 63. X to the power of 1 times x to the power of 8, so we're just adding the powers. So we get x to the power of 9. And that's the final answer. Right, so that's rule number 1. Let's look at rule number 2. So rule number 2. So say we had a to the power of 4 divided by a to the power of 3. When we're dividing the numbers, we take away the powers. So we do 4 take away 3, and that gives us a to the power of 1. So when dividing, we subtract the powers. One thing to remember is that the base always has to be the same. So if we had a to the power 4 divided by b to the power of 3, we're not able to subtract the powers. It's only when the base is the same. Okay, so let's look at some examples for rule number 2. So d to the power of 4 divided by d. D is on its own, so remind yourself that that's to the power of 1. So we're just going to take away the powers. 4 take away 1 is 3. So that just gives us d cubed. C to the power of 7 divided by c to the power of 7. Now, you know from primary school, maybe primary 3, that anything divided by itself is going to be 1. So if we did 5 divided by 5, we get 1. 1,000 divided by 1,000, we get 1. 1,000,000 divided by 1,000,000, you get 1. So c to the power of 7 divided by c to the power of 7 is 1. But say I did what I said here, so 7 take away 7, that gives us 0. C to the power of 0 is 1. That's another rule that we're going to look at later on. Okay, but just remember, anything divided by itself gives you 1. C. Another way that the question can be written is as a fraction. Remember, this fraction line means divides. So, a to the power of 8 divided by a squared. That just means 8 take away 2. So a to the power of 6. X cubed divided by x to the power of 9. So this time it's 3 take away 9. So that gives us a negative number, which is fine. We just write down x to the power of minus 6. And the last example for this one, 12p to the power of 7 divided by 4p to the power of 4. Now when I've got lots of numbers and lots of letters here, I'd like to write it as a fraction. It's just easier to work with. So we divide the numbers first. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. Then the letters, take away the indices. So 7 take away 4 is 3. So it gives us p to the power of 3. So again, I'll just go over that again. 12 divided by 4 is 3. P to the power of 7 divided by p to the power of 4 is 3 as well. So 3p cubed. And that's the final answer. So that was indices, rule number 1 and rule number 2. Thank you.